let's recap for a minute what the government wants in this case. What they want is that when a certain battalion or perhaps a certain squad has been seen of doing crimes against humanity or war crimes, it means that they can be proven innocent simply because they say that they are following orders, and therefore they should not be punished. Therefore they should not be discharged. Therefore they should simply be maintained inside the army without any consequences, simply because they are not guilty, because simply they are following orders. However, we believe that this is fundamentally false. We believe that following orders in itself is never able to be a justification for a war crime, especially such a horrendous crime as crimes against humanity, as killing civilians, as torture, as has been done in Iraq, for example. We don't think that simply following orders is an excuse for violating the very essence of humanity. So I think that here, what we want to actually achieve is to make sure that we minimize any damage done to humanity. What we're going to do here is we're going to maintain the status quo, where right now, people who are proven guilty in the army, people whose squad, for example, who have been proven to kill civilians, for example, who have been proven to torture innocent people, will be dishonorably discharged. At least, at the very, very least, they will be suspended from the army, which we think depends on the severity of the war crimes that they have done, which we think is going to be a huge record to their career record and would be an impediment towards their future career in the military. And so we think that what we want to do here is we want to make sure that war is never easy. We want to make sure that we actually make sure who we're fighting, making sure that you're actually fighting a just war. So let's talk about what Hoka has said on this matter. They say that, first of all, about presumption of innocence, that it doesn't exist. Well, the fact is that it does exist. But military soldiers are able to prove themselves in a military court, although it is perhaps separated from the civilian court, of course, because it's a very simple case. It's a very separate case. But at least they're still given a fair trial. It means that presumption of innocence does indeed exist, and they are able to be punished only if they have been proven to be involved in these war crimes itself, not necessarily simply because someone else related to them did a war crime, then it won't necessarily be instantly punished. We don't think that this exists. We think that first trials are still there. Secondly, they talk about how these are special cases, about how they're taught that anyone can be killed as long as perhaps they're carrying a gun, or perhaps that simply because they're educated to only answer to higher officers. However, we believe that this is not true. We believe that soldiers are actually taught very basic principles about what a just war is, which brings me to my first point, which is what the principles of a just war actually are, and how they are actually always being implemented, should always be implemented in the battlefield itself. This is my first argument. So first of all, the principles of a just war are first proportionality, where you cannot harm your enemy any more than your enemy has harmed you. It means that you cannot go crazy on your enemy simply because they're carrying a gun. You can't cut them. You have to properly treat them, such as has been stated as prisoners of war. Second of all, there's a principle of discrimination, where you have to discriminate which is the wrong people and which are the civilians. I think that this makes sure that you know who you're actually fighting, and you're not targeting innocent people. And I think that this is something that every single soldier must know. I mean, this is a principle that everyone here can understand. So I think that you have that in every just war, you have to know who you're fighting. You can't just go crazy on your enemy simply because they're carrying a gun, and you cannot just lose control when you're actually fighting. And second of all, they definitely have had some kind of basic training in the military, teaching them about when a war can actually be fought. But before they deploy, they cannot possibly not understand these very simple principles of a just war. It's the very basics of going to war itself. And therefore, if you forget these rules, if you don't answer to these rules, then that means it's your fault. When you kill civilians, it's your fault, because you have been taught these principles when you have entered the military in the first place. For example, Janet Karpinski, who totally know what torture was happening in the Abu Ghraib prison, which was her responsibility, but did not do anything about it. This is her fault also, because she knows that she's not allowed to torture innocent people. So going on to my second point, about how Hoka says that you can't answer to logic, about simply that not answering means you'd see as being deserted and that you would be killed, and simply that the punishment means that it comes to the pressure of righteousness. But we believe that this is not the sole thing that actually happens in in the military itself. We believe that the interpretation of a command is what actually happens, and this is where something goes wrong. This is where war crimes happen, which brings me to my second point about how interpretation always happens, about how mistakes always happen along the realm of command. We think that, first of all, bear with me here, commands first come from high-ranked officers. They're never actually that clear, or they're only general. You can't actually force the president of the USA to make his battle plans that clear. So if, for example, Bush would say, we want a war on terror, he would tell that to the Secretary of Defense, Rumsfeld, who would say that you need to send troops to Iraq and eradicate the terrorists that there, and therefore after that you would enter Iraq. And then the commanders, a very battalion, would formulate their field strategies, would analyze their threats, the targets, and then you would assign people to their own posts. You would have logistics, you would have snipers, you would have squads, each deployed to their own place. Now when war crimes happen, it means that somewhere in this ladder, someone interpreted the commands in their own way. It means that someone did bad, like big time. Somewhere in the middle, someone expanded the commands according to their interpretation. We think that it means that someone chose, for example, someone chose a certain battalion to attack a certain place, to secure a certain location. And within the squad within this battalion, it means that someone interprets the command in their own way, because you cannot expect the commander of the battalion to know exactly what the squad does. And therefore, when violations against humanity happen, it means that the squad leader, who has told his soldiers within his small unit to do something against people, to do something against civilians, which is his interpretation of the command given to the highest officer in this military hierarchy. This means that this interpretation is the fault of the squad leader, and it's the squad who knowingly did this and knowingly did war crimes. It's not simply the fault of Bush simply because he said it's a war on terror. It's the fault of the squad leaders who actually did the deed itself. And therefore, the commanders can only actually give general orders, and they can actually control what happens at the field level. And therefore, the manifestation of these orders is the responsibility of the people doing these orders, not the people at the highest rungs. For example, Abu Ghraib, Rumsfeld says you need to get information, be creative. And therefore, when these foot soldiers interpret be creative into electrocution, that's their fault, not Rumsfeld's. And that's when the war crimes happen. That's why these people cannot simply say that they were following orders. Furthermore, let's say, for example, that Rumsfeld said, just torture all of these people at Abu Ghraib. Should these people who follow these orders also be punished? We say yes, just punish them all. We see that the precedents is the Nuremberg trials, for example, in World War II war crimes, where all the people involved in Nazi crimes, all the people involved in the Nanjing massacre in the Japanese army, all of them were punished. We think this is a huge jurisprudence that can actually affect the decisions of the current right now. It shows that war crimes against humanity are so bad that every single person that is involved in these war crimes needs to be punished. Even child soldiers in Somalia are proposed to actually be punished as well. This means that the world should have zero tolerance towards war crimes. Every single person that is involved in these war crimes needs to be punished. We think that in the end, we want to make sure that war isn't easy, that you make sure that you're doing a just war, and that it's absolutely necessary and you make as little damage as possible. Therefore, we beg to oppose.